This is a poem sung to the river Araz or Aras, which ran through the north of Iran about a couple of hundred years ago. Today, it is the waterline dividing Iran and what used to be its ultra-north provinces. And that is how a poem struck this chord. It's a reminder of exactly that separation, and it was recited by Turkish President Erdogan at a Baku parade, a victory parade celebrating a ceasefire agreement between Armenia and the Republic of Azerbaijan, an agreement that allowed Azerbaijan to reclaim control over broad swathes of Nagorno-Karabakh and surrounding lands. Now, how did it get there, and why did Erdogan recite that particular poem in celebration? For answers, stay with me, Leila Faramarzi, on Iran Today. Today's map portrays an Iran bordering all three, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. So when decades-long fighting reignited in September between Armenia and Azerbaijan, the war spilled into Iran by proximity alone. On top of it all, Azerbaijan gained the upper hand, partly because with Turkey, it stationed at Iran's borders both its archenemy Israel and Takfiri Syrian terrorists. So the way Turkey helped was no favor to Iran, and why it was so eager to help Azerbaijan was questionable. Mr. Parkain was ambassador to the Republic of Azerbaijan. He shared his thoughts with us at his souvenir-packed house.
This poem directly provokes ethnic sentiments and questions the territorial integrity of the Islamic Republic of Iran, while promoting a kind of pan-Azerism and, in Mr. Erdogan's own words, Pan-Turcism. After Mr. Erdogan recited the poem, sensitivities arose in Iran.
Azerbaijan is an Azeri Turkish-speaking republic ripped away from Azeri mainland, which is Iran's northwestern-most province today. So when Turkey's first man sang a song of separation between the two Azerbaijans, it sounded like he was calling for Iran's Azerbaijan to pull away to join its long-lost sister, the Republic of Azerbaijan, and then Big Brother Turkey, forming a Pan-Turkic alliance. Iran doesn't, wouldn't claim being big brother to its long-lost former provinces and khanates. So why would Turkey do so, or did it? Turkey explained Mr. Erdogan's mistake, as in he must have misunderstood the poem. I asked Mr. Parkain what he thought the Turkish president meant. What do you think of Erdogan's recitation of that specific poem?
One of the reasons for this discussion is Erdogan's expansionist and ambitious view of reviving the Ottoman Empire. Of course, he targets what he calls Turkish-speaking countries and tries to unite those nations under the leadership of Turkey. Well, this idea, formed in 1991 after the collapse of the Soviet Union, gradually went out of the picture and was not welcomed by Turkish-speaking countries, because these countries believed that now that they had abandoned their big brother, the Soviets, they were not interested in submitting to Turkey as another big brother.
Folks were shocked at the poem recited at the parade. Question is, what was Turkey's first man doing at the Baku Victory Parade to begin with? Mr. Kakai is an IRIB analyst with the capability of splitting hairs, which is typical. He came to Press TV studios to share his thoughts.
Azerbaijan
organized the parade exactly a month after the Russian-brokered peace agreement was reached with Armenia. Holding this parade means a celebration of victory, a propaganda technique that is used for both domestic and regional use. This was a change that came about after 30 years.
What the poem actually says, what it is actually doing, is that it weeps for both sides, both for Iran losing a part of itself and also for that child that was taken from its motherland. In other words, if anything, it is wishing the lost parts of Azerbaijan back to Iran, to its motherland, and not the other way round. But the Pan-Turkic movement misconstrues the meaning, redirecting it to drive dissent in Iran and create a new country. As if there aren't already far too many borders created less than a century ago in this part of the world. Look at Israel and newborn states south of the Persian Gulf. As for how Iran's north, that's areas north of the Araz River, was ripped away from this country, it followed the Russo-Persian War. In concluding that war, the Qajar dynasty of Iran felt its hand forced to sign the Turkmenchai Treaty in 1828. That followed the also notorious Golestan Treaty of 1813. Turkmenchai saw Persia or Iran cede control of several areas south of the Caucasus to Russia. Those areas being the Iravan and Nakhchivan khanates and what remained of the Talish Khanate. With the Treaty of Turkmenchai, the boundary between Russia and Persia or Iran was set at the Araz River. With the dissolution of the Soviet Union, those states were cut loose, and Iran recognized their sovereignty. Never mind Eastern Caspian states lost to Iran thanks to Russia and its development into the Soviet Union. However, Iran has a very 21st century outlook to the issue, unlike Turkey it would seem. We had to make a bit of a trip to meet Mr. Rezvanpur. It was worth it, as you will see by his comments.
It was the ineffectiveness of ruling of Qajar, dynasty to protect Iranian territories in the face of, Russian invasion in northern Iran. You see, in Fath Ali Shah area, we saw that, by signing two treaties, Golestan and Turkmenchai, we lost more than 200,000 miles of our territories to the Russian Empire. So we just, lost our territory to Russia, and after that we just, witnessed different kinds of consequences by losing these territories.
Iran summoned Turkey's ambassador to Tehran Friday. That's the day after the Turkish president's remarks, which Iran said support a secession of Azeri parts of Iran. Not just that. Earlier in the day, Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif had tweeted, President Erdogan was not informed that what he ill-recited in Baku refers to the forcible separation of areas north of Araz from Iranian motherland. Didn't he realize that he was undermining the sovereignty of the Republic of Azerbaijan? No one can talk about our beloved Azerbaijan. Turco-Iranian ties are solidly unbreachable. But can't Turkish foreign policy damage Iran's ties with other regional states? Here's the answer.
به نظر میرسه که به این شکل نیست. یعنی ترکیه این قدرت
It does not seem to be the case, meaning that Turkey does not have this power. It considers its own influence so it can strengthen its position in the region. But Iran's relationship with Azerbaijan is a distinct one that is based on other considerations, interests and commonalities. This can't be ignored. Therefore, Turkey is unlikely to be capable of disrupting these relations. During the Karabakh War, there were many talks of Takfiri groups being deployed to the region. But this is one side of the issue. Another aspect is Iran's view on this matter. Iran cannot accept a change in the geopolitics of the region or its ethnic situation. For example, changes to the borders or conditions that would threaten Iran's national security will be unacceptable for Tehran. Iran won't tolerate it.
But the Turks appeared as offended as Iranians, given Iran and Turkey have embassies in one another's territories and could have used them as a means of communication, rather than tweets and media accounts. Both countries did eventually summon the ambassadors. There's more to be said on Iran's regional policy centering on the Araz and Caspian region. Also on how Iran and Turkey handle the case of the explosive poem. But first, a quick media review with Shahrzad.
Hi, my name is Shahrzad Manateri, and we'll be reviewing the latest update on the Iran-Turkey dispute, Iran's unwavering protection of sovereignty. The Daily Sabah reports Erdogan says Turkey-Azerbaijan alliance to continue to overcome challenges. As long as Turkey and Azerbaijan have each other's backs, the countries will continue to successfully overcome challenges, President Erdogan said during a victory parade in Baku celebrating the recent liberation of Nagorno-Karabakh over 3 decades of Armenian occupation. I believe Azerbaijan will continue to make history under the presidency of Ilham Aliyev, Erdogan said, congratulating his Azerbaijani counterpart on the victory. He called on Azerbaijan and Armenia to rethink relations as nothing can be gained under the Western imperialist goading. IFP News claims Iran ready to keep Karabakh peace, reconstruct Azeri region, says President. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has expressed the country's readiness to play a role in maintaining a ceasefire between the Republic of Azerbaijan and Armenia, and to take part in the process of reconstruction in the recently liberated Azeri lands. The president also expressed satisfaction with the cessation of a recent war between Baku and Yerevan, the liberation of occupied Azeri territories, and the establishment of a ceasefire. Pointing to Iran's proposed plan for the settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict and deployment of special envoys to Russia, the Republic of Azerbaijan and Armenia, President Rouhani voiced the Islamic Republic's readiness to play a constructive role in maintaining the truce between Baku and Yerevan and ensuring stability in the region. Xinhua.net states Iran's foreign minister urges regional dialogue to settle issues. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif called for a regional dialogue to settle regional issues. In a Twitter message originally in Arabic language, Zarif said, "It seems that some neighbors are asking the West to be part of the negotiation process with Iran. However, Iran will not negotiate with the West over the regional issues," he said, adding that Western interventions have been a cause of problems for the region. Iran is always ready for dialogue with its neighbors, and it has already proposed mechanisms for regional security and peace through regional talks, he said. That's all for this segment. We'll see you next week.
Time for a short break. We'll be back in no time. Turkish Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu called his Iranian counterpart a couple of days after the incident. That would be December the 12th, when he assured Zarif his country respects Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Both countries expressed their resolve to effectively implement their bilateral decisions on the basis of mutual interests.
من معتقدم که ما وقتی در مورد روابط ایران و ترکیه
I believe that when we discuss Iran-Turkey relations, there is a solid background and a stable relationship between the two sides that is strong and ever-growing. We must avoid explaining the bilateral relationships by focusing on the roles the two sides are playing in the region, as they are both partners and rivals. Both have their interests and considerations in the region. It's only natural that every country makes decisions with regard to its own interests and national security. But Turkey and Iran are two important countries and players in the region and have good relations with each other, and that's unlikely to change in the future.
Another motive for Turkey's regional policy and alliances is its growing isolation and a combination of broader geopolitical factors. Factors such as Iran and the Caucasus, which are making for a fresh bid to normalize Turkish-Israeli ties. We have some top-notch experts on tonight. Mr. Khashe joined us in the studio. Wish you could ask him anything directly on the Caucasus and Iranian relations. There are long-term strategic relations as well as loyalty between Iran, Turkey, and also Azerbaijan. Why has Turkey brought Israel into the equation?
Turkey's relationship with the Zionist regime can be analyzed from several aspects. From a regional point of view, they have some kind of common goals and interests and are not in conflict with each other. The link between all this is at the regional level, and that is the Islamic Republic of Iran. They look at Iran as a regional competitor. They also have identified their interests and areas of activity in the region, especially in the Caucasus. For example, the Zionist regime imports energy resources from the Republic of Azerbaijan. These resources pass through the Turkish territory, for which Ankara charges a fee. Turkey also controls the pipelines. The two sides cooperate in other areas as well. There isn't a single issue over which the interests of the two would conflict, nor is there anything that would put them in front of each other.
Iran, apparently, unlike Turkey, believes that regional development requires security and stability in the region. Stability is paramount to preventing the entry of trans-regional forces such as Israel and the United States into the region. Israel has established itself in West Asia, but even Muslim Asian parts surrounding the Caucasus are a far cry for it. However, they border on Iran and Russia, those states, and that is strategic for Israel militarily as well as economically. Do notice, by the way, the support Azerbaijan received from Israel and Turkey in contrast to Armenia. Azerbaijan has a wealth of oil, Caspian oil, which Armenia does not. What exactly is Israel after in the Caucasus, getting involved in the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, etc., etc.?
خب رژیم صهیونیستی اهداف مختلفی از حضور در قفقاز.
The Zionist regime has various goals in its presence in the Caucasus and the Republic of Azerbaijan. The main priority is the shared border between the Republic of Azerbaijan and Iran. It's important for Israel, as Iran's #1 enemy, to have a base near the Islamic Republic of Iran. Israel's other goals in the region involve oil resources. As you know, 40% of the Zionist regime's energy sources are provided by the Republic of Azerbaijan. The third point is that the Zionist regime views the Republic of Azerbaijan as an arms market, and major contracts have been concluded between the two sides.
To Iran, foreign meddling in its affairs is nothing new, albeit it has to remain constantly alert. The unity of different Iranian ethnic groups has always been a target for the country's enemies. For example, the British took measures to create divisions and then separate parts of Iran, such as Herat and later Khuzestan. Mind you, the ethnic minorities I'm out to name are hardly ethnic, but many of their members have been made to think so by those very foreign powers. This would help divide and rule this country, although they haven't gotten beyond dissent, those powers, and that too, not with whole ethnicities. Talking of Pan-Turkism, how Turkish are the Azeris really, at least the Azeris of Iran till today? How Turkish are they for them to be stirred as Turks?
First of all, talk about their religious, background. 95% of Azeri population are Shiites, Shiite Muslims, okay? And most of them are, the followers of 12 Imam in Shiite, Islamic calendar. But regarding the ethnicity, regarding the language, yes, they are certainly talking Azeri, not Turkish, okay? But Azerbaijan is trying to make itself closer to the Turkish ambition of making one nation, one country with two nations. It was the motto of President Heydar Aliyev.
ببینید ترکیه خیلی تلاش میکنه که بگه
Turkey tries very hard to represent the peoples of Central Asia and the Caucasus as the same as the Anatolian Turks and the Ottoman Turks. But these countries do not accept it. In the Republic of Azerbaijan, for example, people are more attached to Iranian Azeris than to the Turkish-speaking people in Turkey. We do not even see this as a threat. We regard the presence of Azeris in the Republic of Azerbaijan, along with Iranian Azeris, as an opportunity for cooperation and development of bilateral relations. That is why we have abolished visas, allowing Azerbaijani citizens to easily travel to Iran and visit Azeri-speaking areas. Some of them have families in Iran, and on the contrary, some Azeris have acquaintances on the other side of Araz River.
Azerbaijanis or Azeris have of late been introduced as the second most numerous ethnic group among the Turkic peoples after Turkish people. And the world's largest number of Azeris live in Iran, followed by the Republic of Azerbaijan. So you can see how the ground is fertile for dissent. In fact, the Azeris in this country are well aware of their deeper roots, and they have fought hard and fast for Iran against the Ottoman Empire in the 16th century. Going way back in time, Azerbaijan is an Iranian, not Turkish or Uyghur stronghold. In fact, the Median prophet Zoroaster is said to be of that region. Zoroaster, the monotheist prophet who upheld fire as a symbol of wisdom and purity. In fact, Azerbaijan or Azerbaijans means protect or protector of fire. Azer means fire in Persian. Even if Erdogan had the best of intentions by choosing the Araz poem, how dangerous can it be? What would be the implications in this region?
By pursuing nationalistic ideals, they are trying to just make a division. You see, President Erdogan made this statement in order to shore up the support of Iran Azeris, but he didn't get any, result because he made a mistake. And after that, it showed Iranian officials a strong disapproval of President Erdogan's statements. But I think that, there is a hand of foreigners which are trying to interfere between the Iranian and Azeri and Turkish relationships in order to just make a discord.
Iran has both maintained its own post-World War unity and has made great efforts for the security of the Caucasus by unity and neighborly behavior. In fact, in the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia, it tried to take a position for fewer people to be killed and for peace to return to the region faster. Iran both exports gas to Turkey and has large imports coming in from Turkey, and the two states have a security cooperation going to counter terrorists present in the region, such as PKK and PJAK. And this doesn't read with Turkey now facilitating ISIS or Daesh dispatches to Iran's nearabouts. One could say Iran's strong reaction to the Turkish president is to protect the Irano-Turkish brotherhood, because to Iran, territorial integrity is its birthright. It is so ancient that its beginnings have blurred, and territorial integrity is again maintained by stability and national unity. But then, perhaps at worst, Mr. Erdogan just sought to undermine Tehran-Baku relations by addressing sensitive issues such as the bonds between the two sides of the Araz River. That would not make it any less unfair or disloyal. Turkey would do well to remember Iran's position during the coup era, as Azerbaijan should remember how Iran stressed its territorial claim to the Nagorno-Karabakh district in its war with Armenia.
اردوغان در روزی که حتی متحدین منطقه‌ایش هم بر علیهش بودند و
There was a time when even Erdogan's original allies were against him, and almost everyone had come to the conclusion that he was leaving. Nevertheless, the Islamic Republic of Iran stood by Erdogan. This was because of Iran's principled doctrines. Iran always supports the territorial integrity of countries. It supports governments that are legally recognized. This is not a tendentious position, but one based on the principles and norms of international law. Accordingly, the Islamic Republic of Iran upheld these principles and supported Erdogan as the legitimate president of Turkey.
Iran's position towards Turkey has been favorable all along, as with the latest coup. Turkey doesn't seem to be returning the favor. However, it is questionable whether Turkey actually needed help in reeling in a coup.
بعد از کودتایی که در ترکیه شد
Turkey's approach towards its domestic and foreign policy underwent a dramatic change following the failed coup nearly 4 years ago. Inside the country, many journalists, political, civil and social activists were arrested. Even the European Union heavily criticized Turkey. This way, Turkey used heightened security measures from within the country, which meant more restrictions for the Kurds and different dissident sectors, groups and parties. In the field of foreign policy, we have witnessed an increasing tendency towards militarization on the part of Turkey over the past 4 years.
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us in our story of the Araz and its pure pastel green waters and the lands surrounding it, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Republic of Azerbaijan to the north and Iran to the south. Not to forget Turkey, Iran's northwestern neighbor. Do watch again at the same times next week and each week after, and don't forget to leave your comments and topic requests. Bye for now.